It's a regular Friday sermon. The Imam speaks about justice, kindness, and broken promises by those in power. He doesn't actually really name names, but everyone knows who he means. After the prayer, trustees have this meeting. They ask, did he cross the line? You see, in Canada, mosques are charities, and with that status comes benefits and rules. Charity status lets mosques thrive with tax breaks, public trust, and donations, but it also demands something that is really important, which is political silence. And for a faith where justice is sacred, like Islam, that silence just comes at a very heavy cost. In Canada, advancing religion is a recognized charitable purpose. Mosques enjoy tax exemption, they can give donation receipts, and they can also apply for grants that help them push their agenda, right? But they must stay non-political. They must stay neutral, silent, honestly, really, when it comes to actual politics. It's a simple bargain. It is a very, very easy bargain until it isn't. Charitable status, again, helps mosques grow. A small prayer space becomes a strong community center. Programs flourish. Faith and service walk, really, in a sense, hand in hand. But Islam isn't just about prayer. It's not a religion of just rituals. It is a living call to stand up for justice. From the times of the Prophet ﷺ to as recent as the times of Malcolm X.
So that when you see a Negro today who's named Johnson, if you go back in his history, you'll find that he was once, his grandfather or one of his forefathers was owned by a white man who was named Johnson.
Muslim leaders have always spoken truth to power. Today, when sermons speak about elections or injustice, the line between faith and politics becomes blurry. And that line is being watched, is being continuously watched. Today, let's talk about Canada's risk-based audit system and how it looks more closely at Muslim charities. Let me give you some examples. So, in 2014, Irfan Canada, a major Muslim charity, lost its charitable status. The government said that they supported groups abroad, but critics pointed out the proof was weak. There was no criminal charges that were ever made, and the loss destroyed their reputation and sent a cold message across Muslim organizations. Even helping others could be turned against you. There's another example. Masjid al-Salam in Ottawa faced the same suspicion, not because of any violence, but because of fears over guest speakers.
CRA is not telling us, and they have no proof. The speaker says something in As-Salam Mosque.
Concern built on assumptions, not clear evidence. For the leaders, this felt less like law and more like judgment against their faith. And in the very recent case, which is the Muslim Association of Canada, MAC, one of the biggest Muslim groups in the country that faced a huge audit. They had to go over 1 million transactions to be checked, 30 visits to their buildings, 27 interviews, and yet no wrongdoing was found. Even youth programs and social spaces were questioned, not for being religious enough. MAC pushed back in court, and while the case was stopped early, even the judge admitted that their concerns were serious. The political climate, not just the rules, was changing how Muslim charities were treated. And even today, the pressure is growing. There is this report that suggested to remove the advancement of religion completely from the list of what counts as work. And if that happens, mosques and all places of worship could lose their support from the government. But they would gain something, I think, that's far more important, which is freedom. Freedom to call out injustice without fear. Freedom to raise their voices without being punished. Now, imagine an imam speaking freely from the minbar, naming laws that hurt the poor, that calling out racism, standing up for the oppressed people without worrying about being shut down. History shows us examples. Imam Shamil resisting the Russian Empire, Muslim leaders resisting and fighting apartheid in South Africa.
Throughout the 1960s, Imam Haroon continued to live a double life.
Malcolm X speaking out against racism from the mosque. These are all things that have happened from the mosque, from the actual member. And today, the question remains, is freedom worth the price? You know, I have real examples, like when justice strikes Gaza and Canadian Muslims sending money to family back home are investigated, when Iranian Muslims try to support loved ones and face questioning, or even when Sudanese refugees face barriers at Canada's borders.
Unfortunately, it's very clear there is a discrimination process here happening. There are different standards, apparently, for different refugees coming from a different part of the world.
These are real things that mosques should be speaking about. But even more concerning is when an imam gives a religious view about LGBTQ plus issues or speaks out about abortion and is attacked in public. Even that, can the member afford to stay silent? Again, historically, it never did. From Mecca to Johannesburg, mosques raised voices. They really raised hell, and they told people what to actually do. And today, Muslim communities feel the same call. They face the same call to pray for the oppressed, to support their families without fear, to defend the dignity of refugees, and to protect the right to speak honestly, even when it is unpopular. But if the law forces silence on the member, the danger isn't just legal. The danger isn't just legal. It's spiritual. It is something that touches the actual religion itself. When faith demands speaking the truth, but the law demands silence, the community must choose. And it's a choice that's really difficult to actually make. Whose approval matters more? The government or God's?